Hey everyone, it's Anna, and I am back with another card in my Snowmen of January series that I'm doing here on YouTube and on Instagram. And this card features a Stampin' Up! Image from 1997. I won this image from Kelly in Idaho on Instagram on a giveaway that she had in December, and I was the lucky winner. So thank you so much, Kelly. This is not a stamp that I had in my collection already, so I was delighted to be able to add him to my stash. I think he's adorable. I don't recall the name of the set, so Kelly, if you're watching and you actually recall the name of the set, maybe just leave a comment and I'll pin it for people to see. So I'm stamping him twice in Memento ink on Nina Linen cardstock. I did a video where I shared some of my secret favorite cardstocks, and I will link that video down below if you're interested. But I'm stamping him twice using a Stamp-A-Majig so that I can get perfect placement of that second image. I am going to be coloring him with alcohol markers, and I did choose a paper pad prior to starting my coloring so that I could kind of get an idea of some colors that I wanted to use. And the paper pad that I chose has lots of blues and browns, so I've gone ahead and chosen 3 colors of blue for his hat and his scarf, and then I'm going to color his body and snow in a very light tan color. So I'm using the B93, B95, and B97 series of colors from Copic Marker, and I really love these 3 colors together. I think they blend really beautifully and they complement each other. And these are the colors, the 3 markers that I generally use if I'm coloring something like denim or overalls on little farmer boys, and apparently blue snowman hats and scarves. So I'm going to go ahead and finish coloring him up. Just doing a real quick plaid design here on the scarf, just following the lines that they've provided there in the drawn image, and just keeping it really simple, not doing a lot of blending, just putting lines on paper and allowing the little subtleties of the alcohol markers to blend themselves together. So here you can see I'm just doing a really loose coloring of the snowman body itself with some very light tan markers. I did the E40, E41, and E42. And then I'll actually go in a little bit later as well with some of the darker browns, E44 and E47, to just add a little more depth to color. And then blending some of those lighter areas out with a colorless blender as well. So, but you can see just really loose and sketchy, and it's my favorite way to color. I think it gives kind of a watercolor look when you don't color everything so solid and blended in, in solid colors. So I really love having lots of white open space in my colored images. I did use a R20 R20 marker for his cheeks, because every snowman needs a little blush on his cheeks. And then I did use some browns again for the buttons and the little patch on his scarf. So the hashtag Snowmen of January series that I'm doing is just me providing an entire month of inspiration using snowman images. So I'll be using various different stamps, also dies, and just providing lots of inspiration for the month of January featuring different snowmen. I'll be using stamps from all different kinds of companies and dies as well, and so I really hope you enjoy it. I do encourage you, if you want to participate, please upload videos, hashtag it with Snowmen of January here on YouTube or on Instagram so that I can see your wonderful creations and we can all be inspired by the snowman images that you have. They are one of my absolute favorite things to create with, and I'm excited to see what people might share. So here is where I'm going to go back in with that colorless blender and lighten up the edges of some of those light tan areas just a little bit. And that actually bleeds that tan ink into the white and just softens the transition between the colors. So here is the paper that I've chosen. It's called Winterings, and this is a 6x6 pad from Little Yellow Bicycle. This is not new. It's from 2013, and I purchased it in 2014 at Tuesday morning. So not new at all, but it has really nice color wave, and I really like some of the images. This sweater image is one of my favorites. It's not one that I chose to use for my card today, but I did log it to memory knowing that it was there. I also really like that print of the trees and the light tans. So just an interesting little paper pad. It's got lots of different kinds of designs, from wood grains to snowflakes to sweaters, and here's another cute little tree scene. So I went ahead and chose a couple of papers from that paper line, and I cut a piece of rustic cardstock from Paper Tray ink in half to use as my card base. You can see that it's an off-white piece of paper there, and it's got little flecks of color in it as well. I did cut a couple of pieces of paper for the inside of my card and a couple of little scrap pieces, and then I cut 2 rectangles for the front of my card, and I'm going to kind of offset them at a little bit of an angle to create a little bit of focal interest for the front of my card. These 2 rectangles are cut at 2.5 inches by 5 inches in length. So I did that size for the plaid paper and for the sweater pattern that I'm going to add as well. The image itself, it was cut down to 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches in length. So I'm just going to layer these up, and I'm going to use my tracing wheel to add some faux stitching along the edges of these layered pieces of cardstock. And just going to be adhering everything pretty flat, so there's not a lot of dimension to this card. Until, of course, you get to the ribbon and button that I add. So once again, not wanting to add a lot of dimension for ease of mailing, I go ahead and add a button and some really bulky ribbon to this card. But, you know, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this snowman here on my card. I'm just trying to decide if I want him at an angle or if I want him straight to that edge. I think I actually chose to put him straight to the edge. I think this image is so cute. So Kelly, thank you so much for this stamp. It's adorable. And then I'm going to use my tracing wheel here to add some faux stitching to his panel as well. And I just like the finished detail that this provides. Now the ribbon that I'm going to use is from Joann, and I picked it up last year, I believe, after Christmas. And it's this really neat braided like hemp twine. So it's a whole bunch of those pieces of hemp twine that we like to use, but they're all braided together to create a ribbon, and I think it's really pretty. So I decided to flatten out a little bit of one end to give it a little bit more of a frayed look. Evened up that end and then used hot glue to adhere that ribbon in place. Then I'm going to use a piece of May Arts twine, which is very similar to the product that's used to create that thicker ribbon there. But I'm going to use a piece of this May Arts twine, and I'm going to create a bow behind an old vintage shell button and use that as an embellishment on my card. And actually, I should have probably chosen one that was the same color as the buttons on the snowman. That would have been ideal. So I'm just going to create a little bit of a bow behind this button, and I'm going to use hot glue again to adhere it in place. And with these bulkier items, hot glue is my adhesive of choice. I just like the quick dry time that it provides and the secure attachment that it provides as well. I'm going to trim up those twine ends and get to work on the rest of my card. So I did cut down a piece of that sweater paper for the inside. I'm going to set it at an angle just like I did the pieces on the front. I opted just to do one pattern paper layer inside here, so I did cut that piece wider than 2.5. I think it's at 3 3/4 inches in width. And then I also cut a piece of white paper there that I can use to add my sentiment on the inside. So those 2 pieces of paper are cut at the same size, and I think they're 3 3/4 by 5. And just adding some faux stitching there along all those visible edges. That's one of the things I like about card making, is making all the little details front, inside, and back have a finished look. And the faux stitching, I think, is one way to do that consistently throughout all of the sides of your card to make it really finished. So just adhering another scrap of that paper on the back side of that card, and then I will be adding faux stitching to that piece as well. And I don't mind if my lines aren't perfectly straight. In fact, I kind of like that they aren't necessarily all perfectly straight. And you'll see sometimes I go in when I get a little extra wobbly, I'll actually add a second faux stitch line there so that it has some additional detail. So now I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the inside of my card. This one is from, it's called Snowflake Spiraling, and it's from Elsie Bells from Art Stamps from Amuse. Elsie Bells Art Stamps from Amuse, and this is not new. I've had this stamp in my collection for years and years. I'm just going to stamp it in black ink here on the inside of my card. And even though that sentiment panel there is set at an angle, I'm going to stamp my sentiment straight. So... And I'm also going to be adding some twinkle stickles to the front of my card. I thought this would make for a really cute little addition to the image. Just adding to the plaid stripe design and just following those lines there. And then as I get to the scarf, since the scarf is a plaid design instead of stripes, I'm actually going to add the stickles in the plaid design pattern as well. So here I start with the straight stripes, those vertical lines, and then I go back and add the horizontal lines as well. After I do the snow, of course. So this twinkle color is a new stickles color for me. I usually use diamond dust, or stardust, excuse me. And I'm really enjoying the twinkle. It's very, very pretty. I did decide to go in and add additional glitter to the top of this while this was still wet, while the stickles was still wet. So I do add some ultrafine art glitter glue, ultrafine art glitter to the top of the stickles before it dries. So this guy has extra sparkle on him. And I couldn't forget his little toes. So thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you're inspired. I hope you enjoy the rest of the January cards as well, where I share more snowman stamps and dies. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you really enjoyed it. And thanks again for participating if you do upload, and hashtag Snowmen of January. So thanks so much, and everyone have a great night. Bye.